Here.
Ron Colley.
Here.
Roland Huron.
Here.
Mitch Daniels. Brett DeRoche.
Here.
Roland Guidry.
Here.
Brian Marks.
Here.
McNeely Rome.
Here.
Monty Vegas.
Here.
Mr. Briscoe, you have the floor.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, you've been presented the copy of the meeting, minutes of last month's meeting. Moved by Monty, second by Mac, that we approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, on my report again, just reminding everybody of our ALBL annual meeting, November 30th to December 1st. If you haven't yet, you get with Amy and Mary, so we can make plans. That's all I have. And moving on to the executive committee report, Mr. Ron.
Okay, we met October the 4th, the committee, and we reviewed the latest financial report. The following items were discussed by the committee and asked to be considered at the October 10th meeting was the general manager's section. That is AE East, 3.4 million, Rose Law, 15 million, A West levee elevation from 17 to 18 feet, capital outlay request of 12 million, and CPRA request of 48 million. Also, the committee discussed the growing inflation and the option of giving a cost of living allowance to the South Lafourche Levee District employees to help offset rising costs. After lengthy discussion of various options to help its employees, the committee recommended the board pay 100% of medical premiums for the Office of Group Benefits for the South Lafourche Levee District. You'll remember correctly, we had changed our policy and had to pay a certain percentage. Now we'd like to restore it back to 100%, and I'd like a motion. I'll move to that.
Motion by Mr. Rowland, second by Monty, that we reinstate the full payment of our employees' health care. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That concludes my report.
Okay.
Well, in that report, you know, might entertain, we talked about the A-East levy, we had a long discussion on that, and also the A-West levy. Okay, I would like to pass a motion allowing you and I to enter into any agreements to lead for the construction of the projects.
Okay, gentlemen, you've heard the recommendation of general manager that either myself or him or both can sign on the repairs to the A-East.
Now, we work toward those contracts.
Right.
Allow us to,
Moved by Roland Guidry, second by Mr. Ronald. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And while we're on the, if we would go ahead and agree to, so the board would agree to support the capital outlay request and the CPRA request. Pass an action like that, we can move forward.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation of general manager. Moved by Mac, second by Roland Huron. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
No money?
Well, I know we need the money, we just approve the project.
Yeah, I hear.
That's all for you, Wendell?
Right.
Mr. Ronald? Good. Okay, moving on to audience comments. Anybody here express purpose of addressing on board? Ms. Heather Hendrick?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to speak during this portion. I'll be brief. I just wanted to let y'all know that I am Heather Hendricks. I am running for judge of the Division A, which is an entire Lafourche Parish race. Much has been made to the fact that I wasn't born in this parish, but let me tell you, I went around. I had no say on where I hit the ground, and I happened to hit the ground in Shreveport. But I did make the decision to come and live in this parish, which shows you that I already made great decisions. I am an assistant district attorney at the DA's office. I've had extensive experience working with ATF, DEA, Homeland Security, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and U.S. Marshal's Office in prosecuting multi-parish drug rings that are coming across the border from Mexico with methamphetamine and stopping that from coming on 90. Highway 90 is a huge transport lane for drug cartel money, weapons, and drugs. And I have worked with that. I've also worked extensively with Jeff Landry's office, prosecuting child pornography cases, and I've worked with their investigators handling that. Furthermore, I've worked with investigators along with Homeland Security, prosecuting violations of DEQ statute violations. Y'all may be familiar with that, having to deal with the Department of Environmental Quality handling improper discharging of chemicals into our water supply. I've also practiced juvenile law, family law, all civil law, and I am ready to take that next step and to be a judge. I have a passion for justice and seeing that victims are well represented. I thank y'all for your time.
Thank you. And Rebecca?
Yes, thank you.
Robichaud?
I'm Heather's opponent. I'm Rebecca Robichaud, and I'm proud to say I am born and raised on this parish. Many of you know me. I have practiced law here for 40 years. Started my life in Thibodaux, Louisiana. That's where I grew up and raised on Waverly Road. Migrated down to St. Charles Community in my earlier years of childhood. And in my high school years, my father was the manager of Halton Marine Shipyard building industry in Lockport. So we moved to Lockport. Then I married the love of my life, Brendan's wife, Jennifer, her brother, Jamie Robichaud, and we settled and had 3 children in Raceland. We're the proud owners of 5 businesses. So I've not only run a law office, we had a cattle farm industry, raising black Angus cattle, very active in the 4-H industry. We also had Raceland Lumberyard, don't get us confused with Robichaud, that's a specialty wood. And we had Twin Oaks Service Corporation. So, as Ms. Hendricks mentioned, DEQ, I'm well aware of that because when he died, I had to take over his business and get an operator's license and run his sewage business. That services the whole Twin Oaks Service Subdivision. I have been practicing civil law, unlike my opponent who practices criminal law. And on the back of my cord, I'd like to leave with y'all, gives you every category of the civil law that I have practiced. Not only domestic, I graduated from Nichols in 1975, a 4-year degree. I did it in 3 years, hard work, going through summer schools. I graduated from law school at Southern University. I was on the waiting list for LSU, and when that didn't happen and they accepted me, I went for it. I had a drive and determination. Worked for Billy Toza and LG LaPlante, which I know y'all familiar with down here, as their page. It's always been an ambition in my life to become a judge. Unfortunately, tragedy ended that early in my career. I chose not to do that. 2 children, I had a 2-year-old at the time. My husband died and my son died. And I decided I was going to practice law and continue the businesses I was left with. My daughter just graduated. She's a teacher now and graduated in psychology, so I have no little ones at home. I'm still a widow, and so now I'd like to change my career and further it by representing not just one side in the courtroom, all sides in the courtroom, and I need your help. So I ask for you to consider me, Rebecca Robichaud. I'm 60 on the ballot, and if you're wondering why I have angel wings, I will share one more fact with you. My husband was a football player for Holy Savior in Lockport and Central Lafourche High. His football number was 60. When my son played football for E.D. White before he was killed, he asked for his daddy's number. He had 60. This number was randomly selected. Everybody thought I asked for it because they know how important 60 is in our lives. And it wasn't. It was just randomly assigned through the state. So I chose to put the angel wings on my card so you know that they're with me. This is my first sign in 21 years. I need to continue on with my journey because I have them with me. So I thank you, need your help, just like Heather needs. Hopefully you'll read my qualifications and pull the lever for me on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Henry, may I make a couple comments, not about the candidate.
Go ahead.
I want to brag on y'all.
Go ahead.
Hey guys, it happened again, and I want to tell you how much we business people especially, not just people living here, appreciate the work y'all have done to protect us and keep us dry. Window on down. Thank y'all very much. If it wouldn't be protection in the last 4 or 5 storms, my family wouldn't be here. And I got 3 of my kids that live down here with 8 grandkids. But anyway, that keeps us here, keeps us growing in the 10th Ward. And we've talked about this before, Mr. Ronald and I. But guys, keep up the good work. Whatever you have to do, anything we can do on our end on the business end, please let us know. All right? Thank you. Keep it up.
We appreciate that. And again, we appreciate you ladies being here and giving us your qualifications.
I'll just leave it.
Whoever ends up, we hope we have some favorable, because we had some unfavorable judgments against us. Cost us a lot of money, but we'll be in touch, just to make everybody aware of that. Appreciate it. Let's move on to our general manager's report. From the top, whoever, you're on the top, I don't understand.
HTV has a camera on our property, okay? And I've never seen, but of course, we're in the middle of a hurricane, so we see what's going on. But their camera is right in the corner on here, and it's pointed down, and you're gonna see part of the gate right here. And then we have the sheet pile that comes around, it's at 16 feet, and then from this point, it's a metal 3-foot protection wall. And the camera catches the top of that, and you see the water here. And we know the Hurricane Center said we got 12-foot surge, but here it looks like it got to 16, and so I want to play that. Yeah, again, cameras here and pointing down on that other side. All right, here's the top. There's the wall, there's the water. And, it was a slow rise until this time. There we go. There we go. And the camera goes up. I mean, that's amazing. You start at 16 feet above sea level. And that's trying to tell you, that's basically how the storm, it was probably right parallel with, with the lock at that time. Because that's when you get the direct south wind coming up from the gate. And, I mean, and that's what usually happens. It builds the base of the water starts going up, but that last push really jumps up quickly. That same thing happened for one. We saw water coming up, and the last 3 or 4 feet just came at one time.
But when they had the 3 feet added, the weather was there.
Yeah, I mean, that's not just sort of waves, that's actually the surge itself.
Yes, sir, yeah.
And the National Hurricane Center did, the last report, they did say, instead of, they had put a 12-foot storm surge, they put 16 now. And that kind of backs up that situation. So pull out the popcorn. I want to make at least, I want to remind everybody, you just had Ian hit Florida, okay? And if you look at it, and now that the parameters of that hurricane are coming out, it was almost a twin of Ida. when you start looking at it. And, you know, there's some differences, but, there they are. Okay, we had early in the season, August 29th, here a little bit past the middle of the season. And here's an eye, about a 13-mile eye. This is about a 30-something mile eye. But the hurricane winds extended further from this storm than this storm. Now, their tropical storm extended further, and they got more rainfall because of that. But again, they were almost like twins, category 4. You know, we had a gust of 228 miles an hour measured in Lafourche. Okay, they still say it's a category 4, but instrumentation, you know, further in, there was not a lot of instrumentation, so they're still rating it a 4. And again, you see the 150, 155. The barometric pressure is lower, 5, a little bit higher over here. Storm surge 16, see 12 to 18. Again, the wind fields. And then the eye wall, rainfall, we had a lot more rain. But the bottom line is that the big event that you saw in Florida, they had approaching 200 dead people, you know, from the storm. When you stop and look at it, you know, if you look at our community, it's not that much different from when you compare the community that's right behind those very islands that flooded. Okay, the very islands flooded and then the water came on inland, all right? Well, we're further inland, but there's not much there, there's not any real land or elevation. So the difference between them and us is that we had a levee and they did. You know, and what happened to them would have happened to us if the levee had failed, or if we got over top. And that is, I guess, the most important message. We're seeing what happened to them is what would have happened here if the storm would have been strong enough to put water up all over the top and cause it to loss and water coming in. And that's why people should have left. There's no way you can guarantee when a category 4 hurricane is coming that you can protect, you know, get out of the way, leave. We would have had, I talked to the fire department, they said the calls coming in were so similar. I read a couple of articles about the people calling the emergency management, the fire departments, and how much chaos. Same thing happened over here. People, their houses had collapsed around. The only difference is we didn't have water in our system, and they did. They had 12 feet. And you know, we feel, you know, 40% of people saying that you know, that's a real problem for us. And I think the evacuation orders came at the right time for us. Probably came at the right time for them. You know, through the years, I've been hearing reporters that say, man, they get so much better predicting what a hurricane's going to do. Yeah, they are a lot better. But a 10 to 15 mile difference means the difference between having no storm surge and having 15 feet or 12 feet storm surge. You know, 24 hours before, they would say it was going to hit Tampa Bay, you know, and instead, it's 20 miles further south. And Tampa Bay hardly got anything. In fact, the Bay got dry, okay, because they were on the other side. Just like for Ida, it was going to be Western Terrible, okay. Instead, it came right into the Terrible Lafourche line. A major difference. We'd have so much less water had to go in Western Terrible. Yeah. But just to show you that when they give you an evacuation order, should be.
So one hand of Grand Island got PA and the other hand not too bad.
Well, the other end got some elevation. I mean, you got a plus 8 feet, but where the west side, you got maybe 4 or 5 where the road is at the most. And then it's a real dirt, it's not just sand, you know. But you look at Grand Island after Benson, the western side of the island looked like somebody dropped a bomb. I mean, really, you didn't see even any grass. But the eastern side of the island, you camp, it went through all those storms, right? And again, it had the elevation and the trees around it compared to the east side, which is a lot flatter. And that's the idea. We flat too, but we got the levee. Now, the damage after the storm, 100 square miles of marshland. Basically, in one night, we lost about 20 years of normal erosion. This is on a 1993 map. Look at Delta Farms here. Okay. And you see, and this is what is today. And we had a lot of broken marsh that now is just open water. And they got places that were solid marsh that now is open, completely open water. Right? this area in here, we had solid marsh in here that's going around, Clover Farms. You see this happen over here, we lost a lot of broken margin with the completely wide open water. See this opening on the Gulf? The Gulf has gotten closer to us, and after this storm, it's just, I think it's more miles closer to us. And, again, taking some extra precautions that we talked about on the edges of the levee. This is, Clover Farms, I'm looking south, looking northwest. Here's east-south, that goes from the Clover Farms to behind the Breton Canal. And here's the levee going around Clover, and again, now the Morro Canal was 14 feet deep, completely filled, and it's still filled today. Now we're looking on the south. We're looking at the south, on the south levee, looking in, and this is the levee right here. It's 5 feet thick right here of debris. And then the top of the levee, over top. Now it wasn't over top by the surge, but the waves going over. But there was enough waves to put water inside of Clover Farms. Again, that's the levee, the top of the levee. We were constructing that levee when the storm hit. We had taken care of the ground, but we were still fixing the back part of the levee. And luckily enough that it held on the whole time. Here we're looking, this is east looking west. So we were looking from this way. Now you can see the levee. That's why you see no grass, but we were still working on it now. This is on the east side levee. There was some marsh pushed up, and the wind put over, but it didn't come over like the other side. Again, here that's the same shot. This is on the south side, on the north side, looking south. So all of this water came over the other side. You look on this side, we got some ridges, some tree ridges, and the water came up to about right here, so we had a good 7 feet of freeboard on the north side of the Clover Farm. All this water came from the other side. Here's some of the debris line. This is on the east side of Clover Farm, and this is where we're trying to get this built up a little bit. So, we still have some debris that got over the top. That's the boat launch on the outside of it. And remember, there used to be marsh over there. That's how it used to look before the storm. And then again, how it looked after the storm. 1 day difference. And again, here's our ramp inside the farm, going outside to the boat launch. Again, here's the ramp. Looking back, you can tell the water actually got, we flew this, I think it was about a week after, maybe 10 days after. You can see where the debris line was, so you had water all the way up to over here. And they were up to that. This used to be mostly marsh on this side over here. And here's the actual Morro Canal that made Clover in what we used to go to Levee. All right, again, we're looking south. The debris line on the inside of the levee, this is the outside. Again, we had about 6 foot to 7 foot freeboard on that side. Again, look at saying we're on the east side, the north side looking south. And early in the year, right, in August, the sugar cane hadn't really grown up a lot, so all those winds did damage the sugar cane. Had it been late in the year, the sugar cane growing, it would have been damaged. They pumped out the farm, and when they harvested, they had a great year with the water in it, but because the wind hit early before the stalks had gone up, they had a real productive year. And here's their pump station on the east side, and I've been talking to them about going ahead and we'll kind of cover their discharge pipes to improve the protection in this area. And all of this cane, you see how, it's just coming out of the ground. And again, they had a record year, is that what you told me? I called them up for the harvesting. This is in the roads. I'm on the east side, looking west, and again, we kept the water out, all right? but you can see the damage, the blue roofs on the houses, the wind and damage that was caused. Here is on the east side of the roads, just about over the corner of our levee, and that's All American Shipyard. The north side of the coastal canal. And you can tell where the flood waters came in and caused problems. Okay, here we are looking west on the east side, and here's the corner of the levee, that's pump station number 7. That's the Delta Farm Road. And you see when it gets over here, there's mud covered till here, and that's when our levee gate goes across. And again, you have a couple of structures on the outside, but again, the gas plant goes under this flood in this area. Again, we damage at pump station number 7, Delta Farms Road right here. Again, here's the levee, that's Delta Farms Road, that's a little pasture inside. And the one house that's on the outside. And then here's a separation, where you're outside, Delta Farms Road outside the levee system, and this is inside. Tremendous damage, but no water, no flooding came in from the storm surge. Again, the wind was terrible. Again, looking on the north side of the coastal, flood waters hitting those areas again. Here's our levee, here's in the coastal, and I mean, things look normal, but kind of interesting. You have, I saw this debris line and saying, wait a minute, the water could have gotten over it. No, what it was, the south wind blew water in the Borough Canal and blew it outside of the containment from the south wind. You know, just like in Terrebonne, they had that north wind that they flooded from inside the system. Well, this is our one, we got a south wind. Again, the eye was right on the Terrebonne, Lafourche, Parish line. So we got the south wind and the storm surge, the big storm surge. They got the north wind and the inside flood from the situation. And this is some damage on the east side. And this never happened before. I never saw the grass completely be taken out. And then we had some damage to the levee too. That water did go in and take out chunks of probably had to go back and fill that in. Here I want to go on the west side of Golden Meadow, looking to the east. And our levee's back here. That's all not on the pump, that's south of Yankee Canal. And again, I got a couple shots of this. This is the texture dock, Apache dock. And again, the levee right here, the levee is at 17 feet. And you can see that's a boat, and the debris, I mean, right to the edge, right to the top. And it's just right in the heart of Golden Meadow. Okay, again, that's a Apache dock. And again, that levee, when you stand on the levee, you're standing above the roofs of the houses. That's pump station number 8 in the southern part of the system. Again, you got some damage, the grass got eaten up and some divots in there, but it did a little digging right over our discharge pipe. Now, we do have some sheet pile that go across these pipes over here, but still, for a storm like we had to have, the success that we had, it was just tremendous. Okay, here's a lock over here. We had the damage over here, but again, kept out all the surge and all the water. This on the west side is where it's the worst wind and the most debris was on the west side. And some of that stuff is finally starting to set. We've had a lot of terraces on the west side built by ConocoPhillips, CPRA, the parish, Ducks Unlimited. They've all done a great job. But they had some damage here because the grass hadn't grown out yet. These were new, and so you had some damage. But all the terraces that had to grow out, the marsh grass survived it with no problem. Again, still on the west side, and you see tremendous amount of debris. And the reason I'm showing all of this is that this time last year, the biggest concern is would we have the levee in shape for this hurricane season? You know, I mean, we didn't know. We were taking steps. We had to find contractors, and never did this before. We never did debris like this. Talking to those contractors, they said they never saw debris like what we had now. 1 million cubic yards. These guys did Katrina and Rita and other big storms, and they never saw this amount of debris. And this is the parking golden metal. It's coming around. This marsh exists here because we did that project in 2010, made this marsh platform. But here's the levee, and that's the Texaco field. Whatever low marsh used to be in there got wiped out. But there's something about, because we're close to the Bayou Ridge over here, the material that they made the spoil banks on is still there after being there since 1930. So that's what we're looking at, trying to take some of these ridges and rebuild them to help break any waves that could get to the levee. And this is shallowed up. When you have a hurricane, it's crazy. It kills a lot of marsh, but it also brings a lot of material in. So a lot of these canals are shallowed up. So if we could get a group of people, the parish, ourselves, and other groups, go in and try to fix this area, it's going to help protect the levee, but it's going to increase the fishing in that area too. We can do some things that we have support of the town, and I think we could really do some good in here. This is Catfish Lake, so there's really no boundary anymore. That's another reason why we want to do the spoil banks and improve them. And if we can get them big enough to be a ridge and grow trees, that'd be fantastic. That'd go into it. Behind the park again, tremendous amount of debris, and in this area we got some serious damage in the levee. We got some divots taken out of the levee, and that's just by the wave action. Again, this is the size going on at the pump station over here. But what really feels good is you see all of this over here, and it looks, at least the ground looks normal on this side. This little rolls area, again, a lot of blue tarps. You know, it's as terrible as it is, we're going to get a new mascot. It's all Lafourche tarps on. This is on the west side. This is where Gans and the Gulf, the old levee, Hall's levee, right here that attaches to ours. A tremendous amount of debris over here and in the form. Hopefully they'll improve that levee and protect it. We're still working this area. That's in the same area a little bit south of there. And this is actually the top of the levee. That's why you don't see gas, we just built it. But that's up at 18-foot elevation. And the debris line didn't get any higher than this. So all the way back at cutoff, there's a lot of open water. We still had a good 7 feet of clearance, but that's a ton of debris that we still have not completely taken off of the levee at this point. But the major parts of the levee are being worked on and improved. And again, this is on the same time on the west side, tremendous amount of debris. But I mean, it's amazing when you look at this compared to this. The land over here is at -4, and the flood line got at least around that 8-foot elevation. So you're talking about 12 foot deep of water. That's what people understand. If the storm had broken through, you'd have 7 to 8 feet of water in people's houses. And there's no doubt that there have been some deaths in the area. Real fortunate. Again, this is on the west side near the Schwest one. Again, the waves breaking right near the bottom of the levee, taking out the grass and causing damage. So we came in, and this is right at the lip of the crown of the levee, where it just eroded that corner. Luckily, we had put extra dirt in the back over here, and so just with excavator bulldozers, we able to make good repairs in that area. And that's the same, it's all on the same side. Here, the waves hit here, stacked up the debris just on the top of the levee. It looked like somebody had taken a bulldozer and put it on top of the levee, but the storm did. This is, okay, we're looking at building a ramp over here. This is that loop, this is the outside, that protects the side. This is headed toward LA1. And you can see those are HESCO baskets that we use. We put the HESCO baskets over here because the road is about 3.5 feet lower than the levee. And the water came up a foot up on the HESCO baskets. We had some water coming through, had we not put that there. This is the ramp that goes to Allen's camp over here. And again, we do ramps, the shells are not good, one goes over the top. So all the ramps we build 2 to 3 feet higher than the levee. Figuring that if it floods at 3 feet higher, the whole thing's gonna flood in, it won't make a difference that it might as well go to 3-4 shells. But that's why we do that a little bit. This is outside the levee system, the Bryan Shores Reservoir, was slightly over top of this storm. And then again, this is on the east side, South High School area behind Breton Canals over here. This is further north. And you can see inside the debris line. The south wind blew the bark now high enough that it went over the banks over here. Again, back to globally, showing from the inside out how bad that looks. Same area again. And then, over here, Lloyd Saw had these two boats. And so he's working at getting them out. Again, that's our Barrow Canal. It's completely filled in. Now he's got an excavator over here trying to break it up, but as he's digging it out, pulling it out, it's squeezing back in. So what happened, he finally gave up. We ended up clearing the edge of the levee, and he got, I don't know if it's what, so both those are tractors.
Excavator and a bulldozer, one full and one push.
And they actually pulled the boats on the bank of the levee and dragged it on the levee to get back in the water and Superior Canal. Because they couldn't dig their way out. And the canal is still full to dig. See, he kept digging away. He got to come back and still couldn't make it. So once we cleared all of this, they just pulled it on the berm of the levee and drug it over. Again, water coming over, that's a divot right here. That's from water going over the top. We had some damage on that's on just south of Clover. This is pump station number 6 by the Breton Canal. You can see the debris line over here. I mean, it's amazing. You keep looking at that, how high the water was in so many parts. We had about 30% of the levee, got close to a foot on the top. Let's look at north, and then you see the debris line, and then because there are trees over here, less debris over here, and this fared real well. Looking back at Rhinestone's Reservoir, back in the back of South Lafourche. You see the levee system going through here. That's our Barrow Canal, how levee does this, and you see the water on the outside. Here's the airport over here. That's a tank farm just outside the airport. A little bit closer shot. Here's our levee. Again, keeping all the water out of our system. This is Blackmersh West, and this is wave action, and must have substantial wave action to push all the debris over the levee and all the way past here. And we were working on this project, and we have finally completed it and raised the levee. Again, this is a long stretch in Mersh West that was damaged that we had to go back and fix. And the point is, we got it all fixed. I mean, we'll start of August 15th of this year. All of that was fixed. The only thing we didn't have is some Kobe mats at the lock. Again, all this damage. That's where the way was pretty fine in the corner of the ground. Got it cleared in sheet. This is the pump station at Schwest. And this is what wasn't completed. We hadn't finished it, and some debris got inside over that. It didn't get over the plate over here. We had put it as an attempt to have some good protection, but now we got the system completely finished. That's all the debris of the Schwest area. And that's pump station number 4, back in Yankee Canal. I mean, totally covered, 4 other sides within. That's it. No other damage, no other problems, except for the debris getting over the levee. That's why the performance of the levee is amazing to see the water this high, so many waves going over, and no major problem.
Nice slide of the cutoff canal.
You do? Oh, yeah. We had what, how many slides?
136.
I mean,
136.
no, how many?
Oh, 293.
We started with 293. So I was gonna get popcorn for everybody. It's like 30 down to 100.
I need a refill.
But again, I just wanted to show this because what happened in Florida and how what we could have been just like that except for this close call. And again, the success that we had, we got to remember, it's because everybody started with this board making good decisions. Our people in the field getting out there right after the storm and through the storm and got the whole thing fixed. That's all he needs. The grass is completely wiped out by the waves here. it's a loop hole, and the water did get around the edge, it got to the over here. And I believe the waves are being high enough, the surge being high enough, that the splashing, because you have a flat wall, through some of that debris over the top, and we did have some erosion around the sides, and we've already fixed that and continue to improve that. The safe harbor was safe, except the wind did turn over a couple of boats. Yeah. And again, we were back, everything was working. By Thursday, we had everything going, we were driving to operate the floodgates and the launch. But because of all the boats turned over the bayou, it was still another week or so before they could get traffic to go through. No, we were ready by Thursday. The storm hit Sunday, Monday, and although it wasn't normal, our guys had some ways to start off the cross and jump to work all the machinery. And this building up the corners, we just finished a couple of jobs to raise these corners a little bit more, because that's where we tend to build up a little bit more surge because of the refraction of the waves that hit the two other areas. Again, I know it looks similar story, but here's a pump station in Golden Meadow. We just raised it. Had we not raised it, who knows what would happen. Again, is that, again, also run, that's at the park again. Tremendous amount of debris. That's looking toward Carl. And that's behind the Levee District Office. This got all wiped out. The only thing left is the terraces. But you can see, how much debris out there. And this is bullet camp. And completely, the roof completely taken off. All this debris, remember, for one, it's cut a hole 33 feet deep right here. And here's a much more powerful storm, high storm surge, and no problems, except for the wind and the damage. We didn't have a high surge over here where most was when the water got high in the coastal, it was basically going from west to east. And this is in a little cubby hole, so it really didn't get real high right at the floodgate in the walls. But again, our wall reacted real well. Again, you can see the area outside of the system. So the road goes across. And then flooding that took place on the north side. And that's it. It would have been better with the popcorn.
I'd like to comment on something you said earlier about the levee system. I think we're a victim of our own success. First of all, when we go for funds from the federal government or anybody else to look at what we've done, we have not flooded since one in the mid-1980s, the last time we flooded, 85. So they look at areas that did flood and need protection now, and the money goes to them. They don't put the value for what we've done to prevent the flooding in our area. We still need funds. We're having a hard time convincing them to come up with it. Secondly, our people are overconfident. In my neighborhood, my wife and I and my granddaughter and her family are the only ones that evacuated. I talked to my neighbors when they came back and they had tears in their eyes. They were so terrified during the hurricane. I know next time they will evacuate, but that's our problem. We're doing such a good job, people are overconfident, and they're not getting out. And the reason they say, well, if I can't stay behind, I'll be able to save my home. Well, if they stay behind, they're going to lose their home, they're going to lose their lives. At least if you leave, you're going to lose your home, but you're going to save your life. We can't emphasize that to our people. That's the hardest thing to do because they are overconfident right now.
Yeah, and again, with emergency management, it's always a thing. What you're trying to do is make people take action on something they never experienced. You see, if that's why we do the Cheyenne. I told him that share me, because unless you've been through that, you don't understand how terrible things can be, and you help us. That's the other thing. You completely isolated. Again, talking to the fire department, they get the phone call from people, and they said, "Look, we can't get out right now." They eventually did get out. And again, the Captain bus picked up 51 people, set up a shelter at Galliana Junior High in the middle of the storm. And we were lucky we didn't have water. If we had water, you couldn't have done all of that. But you're absolutely right. Victim of our own success. I hate that. I hate that line. In business, if you're lucky and good, you get money and attention. In government, if you're lucky and good, you get ignored. Okay? And that's where we are. And that's not good because we barely got by. And look, I've only been asking the state to match the amount of our tax money that we use to build new projects. Not maintenance money, don't match our maintenance money, match our construction money, and have had no success. We lost $2 billion in taxes because of the damage, and just getting that replaced by the state or the feds. Nobody's going to come on.
One was, what, 37 years ago?
1985,
Okay.
October 27th.
Most people living in 10th Ward, I bet you 80% of them are under 37. So they never experienced flooding. They don't know what it's like. So they're not afraid of it. We got to convince them that the problem they're putting themselves in by staying behind. That's all I'm going to say.
No, but that is the point. That's after the point that we were able to keep the flooding around. The number one point is that we can never guarantee that we're going to keep the water on. Now we're small like that. Look, if a barge would have cleared the top of the levee, that by itself could have done it. You call it an emergency because you don't control the situation. We are doing everything we can to stop us from flooding. And you know what? We better today than yesterday. We'll be better tomorrow than today. But we'll never be able to guarantee that we can stop all flooding. If God wants to put a 25-foot storm surge, we're doing it. In fact, Hurricane Katrina, we talked about it last meeting. Hurricane Katrina was going the same track that Ida was going. And had Katrina continued on that track, we would have had a 20-foot storm surge in 1985, and this community would not be this community. No two ways about it. But Ronnie, you're absolutely correct. That is the message that has to come out. And when the parish says leave, leave. And anybody I talk to, I don't think too many people have spent more time on the levee than me. And I tell everybody I talk to them, please leave. We cannot guarantee that it's going to hold back the water. Thank God it did.
We protect your property.
Well, again, let the levee protect your property, but get your body to naturally high ground. And look, you can still get it now. For Hurricane Benson, Hurricane Camille, more people died in West Virginia than they did in the Pacific Coast. Because they had rainfalls in the mountain and drowned over 110 people. You know, the storms, they have rainfall, you have storm surge, you have tornadoes. Remember the Hurricane Hilda? We lost out 23 people in the roads on Cape of Hilda. And then you have the straight line winds and the damage that almost, it's amazing nobody died with the straight line wind, but all the damage. But anyway, that is the measurement, Ronnie, you hit on the head. Anything else?
Let's move on with your,
We can still get the top. Okay, amended budget for fiscal year 2023. We have the debt service that we did not put in the budget, so we'd like the board to authorize the approval needed to put it in the budget and to approve payments of that bond money that we have.
all right, you've heard the recommendation of general manager to add the debt service to our report. Moved by Mr. Roland Guidry, second by Roland Curo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The DNOT grant, we need to extend our contract with CPRA. Because we're trying to, the bids were extremely high the last couple of times we looked, so we're trying to go one more time and try to get some more agreeable bids. So we need the board to approve the extension.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our general manager to approve the extension of the agreement with CPRA. Moved by Monty, second by Mac. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Need the board to agree to the renewal of the rental with Crosby Real Estate. We're going to continue to thank them for what they've done for us and hopefully give us another 9 months at the exorbitant price of $1.
Pay with cash if you want.
Yeah. We negotiate? Yeah, well, we have.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of general manager. We will try to extend the rental on our office space with Crosby for another 9 months. Our building repair should be completed. Got a motion by Brent, second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Risk rate 2.0, that's the new flood insurance program, okay? I finally found out, it's been hard to get information on it, but I found the matrix they used to grade levies, okay? And I knew what our code was in there. I didn't know the other ones, but they were all levies in Louisiana. Well, we rated with the lowest. We rated with the lowest in that. And I put the letter that I put together for the Insight magazine. And the reason that rating is so low is because we have requested 408 permits that have taken years and never got them. So we said, look, we can't sit on our hands when we have money in the bank and not improve the levy. So we've been improving the levy and not had the 408 permits. So the Corps says that our levies or we've been doing some unauthorized construction, and because of that, they rate our levies are not being good. But at the same time, here's the Natural Flood Insurance Program and FEMA saying that our levies are not good. But they did the LAMP program. FEMA paid for that program. In the LAMP program, it's an engineering and scientific study, and it basically says we have a good levee. Okay, it says that we can drop the elevations that we built to a -5 in some places. Okay, and even show that we have areas inside that would handle the 500-year flood. So you have one report that says we're no good, you have another report that says we're good, and then we have a hurricane, category 4 hurricane, 5th most intense hurricane that ever hit the United States, and we did flood on the critical path. I had the hurricane say come down. It's important to say that you're on the critical path, because a few miles off and you're not getting the worst of the storm. We got the worst of the storm, worst of the wind, worst of the water, and didn't flood. So we have those two things. And send the letter, that report, I've sent it off to Senator Cassidy, Senator Kennedy, Congressman Scalise, and also Congressman Graves, and see if they can work through this. But look, at the end of my paper, I really saw it, but it should not, it's not risk rating 2.0. It's risk rating 2 + 2 = 5. And the reason that's important, in the book, 1984, that Winston, the head character, he had to believe that 2 + 2 was 5. Because the government said you gotta believe it. And we'll see if we get any traction with that, or if we get it going.
Because Wendell, the third report is the best report. What's happened?
Yeah.
Not flooding.
Well, what
That's any report that can come out.
I tell people all the time, a good scientific report is a nice representation of reality. A good computer model, a nice representation of reality. But nothing represents reality like reality. And yet they don't want to believe it. East Levee improvement, we've already talked about that. There was a lot. Waiting on court permits, we'll have an update on that. And we talked about the West levy, and y'all authorize that. Capital outlay we've done to the executive committee and CPRA request also. On station number 7, we had to repair one of the pumps. We got quotes, and we need y'all to approve the repairs and the cost of the $80,000 to repair the pump.
How much?
$80,307.
Okay, here's a recommendation of general manager to approve the repairs to pump station number 7, pump number 1. Motion by Mr. Ronald, second by Mac. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I have.
Daniel, can you approve that 48 million today?
Let's do it, man.
Okay.
I'm sure if I have authorization for that, but I'll vote yes.
Can you give us 20% down now?
Get that on camera so we can.
As long as it's not, depending on me personally.
It's on the record.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Cameras running over here. So.
Engineering report, CPRA.
Nice segue. Now, the only thing I had was on the D North ramp, the amendment for time extension. It has been signed by our end, so that's good. So then you approved it, so it's just a formality. That's good. That's all I had.
Okay, anyone from the Corps of Engineers here? Project engineer, this the open associate. Go.
Yes, so the Rose Lock project, our plan, the specifications are complete. We've been going through review with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and CPRA for approval. We received some comments from them back in early August. We're with those comments, we had to perform additional calculations, which we're winding up right now. We expect to provide them with more calculations and a response letter within the next 2 weeks. So we've had to do an extensive amount more calculations than we thought we had, but everything's coming out right, and I hope we get approved soon. So the E-North levee improvements, we completed a 95% set of plans. We did some review with CPRA. We're kind of scaling back the project to fit the proposed budget. The top of the levee in this area is a +14. This is the area from the corner at Clovelly and all the way up to the boat launch. Those are pictures that Wendell showed. We had extensive overtopping during Ida that we need to take care of. We're also looking at doing some geotechnical investigation, and we should have a proposal to Wendell by next week sometime to do that.
Yeah, it's a shame, man, we had perfect weather, but the truck that dirt over there, that moving.
CPRA is expecting us to do all these calculations.
Different division, I'll just have to. We're operations, we actually build, we're construction.
Can you waive that day?
I mean, I'll talk to the other engineers that actually do the calculations. I'm the engineer that does construction. I feel your pain, man.
Hurricane Ida storm damage to the pump stations and floodgates. Randolph Shipyard is a contractor. They've done all the structural work, fixed all the roofing, all the siding. They're currently working on fixing electrical components at different pump stations. He has started receiving some of the items, and they expect to be complete this project in early December. There's no pay application this month for this project. And the storm damage repairs to the main office. Remember, we bid this project out. The bids came out high. We are rebidding the project on. We expect to receive bids on November the 8th at 10 a.m. The storm damage repairs to the mechanic shop. Frisco Industrial Contractor is a contractor. He's complete with all the work except the 2 exterior doors. Those doors were put on back order. All the electrical items are done. The roll-up doors are done. It's just basically these 2 doors. He should be getting them in the next couple of weeks. We do have pay application number 4 in the amount of $32,039.48. We do recommend you pay that.
Okay, gentlemen, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay Frisco Construction, pay request number 4, the amount of $32,039.48. Motion by Mac, second by Roland Curol. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And storm damage repairs to the warehouse. Randolph Shipyard is a contractor. They did all the structural work to the awning and to the building itself. We did get a price from them to repair one overhead door and install a new overhead door. And the price was $24,731. You guys approved it the last meeting. The doors are on order, and they expect them to come in either late November or early December. And A West corner elevation. That's those corners on the west side of Golden Meadow. We had a lot of surge ramp up. We're elevating the corners to a +20 elevation. Compo and Sons, the contractor, they complete in one area and they're nearing completion in the second area. They do have the application number 3 in the amount of $78,470 even, and we do recommend you pay that.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay Compo and Sons, pay request number 3 in the amount of $78,470. Moved by Monty, second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
So on D North Levee, this is south of the brine storage pit between the loop area and the Schwest Farm. It's in another area Wendell showed pictures of that has pretty extensive overtopping. We did survey the project, and we are currently finalizing plans to take some material from the adjacent borrow pit and increase the elevation of the crown of the levee to plus 16. We're also investigating the possibility of using a drag line instead of an excavator. We could get probably double the amount of material if we use a drag line, but we're trying to investigate how much additional money that's going to cost before we specify.
Did you get a chance to check how much material was underwater?
Yeah, we did. We surveyed it.
Had
And,
it filled in a bit?
if we did with a long reach excavator, we figured we can reach out to about 40 feet width, and we can get about 7,800 cubic yards of material.
We need more than that.
Huh?
We need more than that.
Well, I mean, I think you can build up the levee probably maybe to this elevation with that, but if we could get a considerable more amount of material if we can do it with a drag. But just have to see how much that's going to cost. Any questions?
Any questions for Joe? Thank you. GIS engineer, John?
Hey, John Plaisance with GIS Engineering. We have 4 projects to report on today. First, the AE's Bayou Water Retention, which is holding water below the Yankee Canal on the east side by Lafourche. Because of various other important things the board has done, I've kind of put that on the back burner. So we've kind of been going slow on this, but we are still trying to get the letters of no objection from the various utilities and pipeline companies, and we are still working on servitudes with Ryan on that. Desal flood wall improvements. Wendell showed you all a couple of pictures on there. Phase 1 and Phase 2 are complete. On Phase 2, we have 2 pay applications for y'all. Application number 5 in the amount of $31,468.75, and pay request number 6 in the amount of $82,555 for y'all to approve at this point.
We could approve them both together.
The attorney's not here, let's do it.
For the recommendation of our engineer to pay sea level, pay request number 5 in the amount of $31,468.75, and pay request number 6 in the amount of $82,555. Moved by Roland Curall, second by Monty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, on Phase 2, we're still withholding retainage of $114,083. That'll probably come due next month. D North ramp, Wendell also showed you photos of that. We are advertising the bids right now. The bids are due on October 25th. So at the next meeting, we will have a recommendation for y'all on how to proceed with that project. And finally, the reconnection of Brett Canal to Bayou Lafourche, siphons in front of South Lafourche High School. We submitted a bid package to Wendell and the Allens, the property owners. They have reviewed it and made some comments. We're addressing those comments by the end of the month. We'll be at that.
And what are we looking at? Equipment there?
Siphons.
Yeah, what that's gonna do, right now, we can, 24 hours, with the cycles that we have, we can, 2/10 of a foot, although that doesn't seem like a lot, it makes a difference for us when we can open the blind now. We put another set of cycles, now we're doing 4/10 of a foot in 24 hours. It's gonna be seldom that we can't allow traffic for a full 24 hours, like we do sometimes right now. And that's because of the road's floodgate. The lot looks great and going better. We don't worry about the height, that's not the issue, but when we open the roads, and that water's coming in, sometimes there's a foot differential, and it takes a while to open the gate, it takes a while for the boat to get through, and that water just keeps coming through. With the lock, I mean, you hardly notice that you've run any boats through, so it's work. We haven't get the lock in the roads, and we really got control of the body. And all of that is because right now, the road LA1 in Golden Meadow is at 0.3 feet above sea level. Okay, so we actually, normal time gets to 0.5. So we actually keeping the volume lower than it normally is, almost 90% of the year, because of manipulating the floodgates in the line.
Anything else, John?
That'd be it.
Any questions for John? All right, thanks.
Thank you.
And you let this go, Neil?
All right, on the seesaw levee reshaping and compaction, that contractor ran our shipyards continuing work on the project. And that's gonna be raising that levy from +8 to a +18, from pump station number 2 at Basin all the way to Apache. There's no payout this month, but we estimate that project is gonna be complete in about 2 months.
Neil, you know, the steepness that we see right now, are we gonna widen that out?
We are some.
We can
not
also
gonna
see
be-
the levy that it is right now.
Right, it's gonna be to where we can maintain it with the grass cutting, so, anywhere from a slope of about a 103 to 104 is fantastic. 103, we get shallower than that, it starts getting difficult to maintain, so that's our objective, is to at least get that 103. On the C-NART levee improvements, that contractor is Compo and Sons, they're continuing to work, raising that levy up to +16. We're recommending approval of their payment, number 1086, in the amount of $23,205.01.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our engineer. State Compo and Sons invoice number 1086 in the amount of $23,205. Motion by Mr. Ronald, second by Mac. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And that project should be completed in November. On the Yankee Canal on Section A, East Erosion repairs, this is on the south bank of the levee, paralleling Yankee Canal. Granite Shipyard was given notice to proceed on September 21st. We expect they're going to be mobilizing on site later this month, and they're going to be putting riprap along that south bank of the levee, along the Yankee Canal. That project was awarded for $1.67 million. The La Rose flood wall vessel impact barrier. At the time this report was written last week, we were still in the permit phase. I updated Wendell this afternoon that we actually did receive that permit Friday from the Corps. So now we have DNR and Corps of Engineer permit to proceed with the project. We have one more piece that we have to get finalized with the Corps. It's with their real estate division, and they actually have the right of way already for the project. So we don't see that as being a hurdle. And we estimate starting advertising on that project this month. And last is the Section F berm improvements. This project's going to continue to address some of the berm and seepage issues that we've had on Section F in the past. Right now, we're going through some final reviews with CPRA, but that should be ready to advertise this month as well. And that's all I have.
Question, we want to discuss the Yankee Canal section, erosion repairs.
Yes, sir.
We beat them.
We paid.
And we took over that levy.
Yeah, 1.67.
1.67 million.
Okay, any other questions for people? Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Delta Coast, anybody here? All right. South Consulting Engineering, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
Taking Stevie's place?
Sir, thanks for having me today. We have 3 projects to report on. The first one is Golden Meadow Marsh Terrace. So we've completed capturing survey data of the project site. The site was shallower than anticipated, and it required a second round of data collection with an airboat. We're developing preliminary plans. We expect those plans to be completed by the end of October. Is there any questions on Golden Meadow?
Is shallower better or tougher?
It just required us to go out there for one more day.
Okay.
As we were talking about, when you get hurricanes, they actually bring in
Build up.
sediment
Yeah.
in that area, that surface
Yeah,
optic,
shallow.
it filled in the canal a little bit.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item is the Reach K Terrace repairs. We've completed the topographical survey for that. Preliminary plans are also underway. We need to get with Mr. Wendell and the Terrebonne Levee District to, sorry, I lost my spot. To get with the required repairs of the terrace. So, so
This is one of the projects that we've been doing at the contract, that did pay us for that money that we spent. And this is probably one of the last projects that we're gonna do that way, from the future, they'll just ask permission when they work in our district and look at permission, they'll do it.
Instead of in and out.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last item that I have here is the Hurricane Ida response. And this deals with the debris management or debris removal. So the debris removal contractor submitted additional invoice for previously billed work or unbilled work. Sorry about that. We've reviewed this invoice with debris monitoring firm Metric, and we found approximately $40,000 in costs. So we've validated that cost. Initially, from what I was told, it was around $500,000. So that is dwindled down to $40,000. So we're expecting this invoice to be presented at the next board.
Okay, that's
So
all. We'll get you a raise.
Just, I got a call from a contractor, we paid, by now, big cost of money. And so I got a call from a contractor that said, well, yours been months and y'all didn't pay it. I said, well, so I asked him, what are you talking about? Okay, who did you sign with? Well, it was debris. So actually, they were sub to sub to sub. But of course, they were working for the Levee district. They basically weren't working for us, they were working for our contractor. And just want to let y'all know in case y'all hear somebody say that we had paid somebody. We'll have to come to with the major and see what the problem is.
Like road breaks and bolts.
Yeah. On top of it.
Okay, anything, any questions? That's it, Jeremy?
yes, sir.
Any questions for Jeremy? Thank you. A lot more informative than Stevie Smith.
Oh, that's not hard to do.
That's not a big feat. Don't let it get to your head.
You just see it. You
Couldn't move it. Okay, legal permits, Mitch is not here. Linda, we have anything?
We have 4 permits requests, and none of them interfere with our work. The Lafourche Parish Governance through the project, Lafourche Shore Base LLC, Greater Lafourche Port Commission, and Harbor Midstream, and none of the projects interfere with the letter.
We don't have to do it.
We will let them know
We
that.
still have to approve. Okay, move by Mr. Ronald, second by Monty, we'll approve the permits. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, our attorney's not here. Wendell, you talk to him again, that's gonna give us an update next meeting on the dynamic, is the old bridge stuff?
Oh,
Where they at with that?
well, at this point, we have gotten an agreement that the insurer is gonna pay as long as they know who's claiming the bridge. And no one to this point has claimed the
It's
bridge.
still not a hill.
Okay, so that's where it's at. They have said that, they said they do it, and we have found a way that all the entities that might own the bridge would agree not to charge or not claim anything, no matter what they would do,
Right.
to free them up and let them do that.
Okay, Finance Committee, Monty?
Okay, Mr. President, the Finance Committee met and reviewed all invoices and recommended be paid as presented.
Okay, a motion by our Finance Chairman to approve all invoices, second by Mac, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Personnel Committee.
So we had 2 employees that was on a probation period, 6 months, and they're been recommended to come on as permanent status. Jake Galjor, and then permanent status will be effective 11/4, and also Caleb Danos, effective 11/19. So the Personnel Committee approved this recommendation to put them on permanent status.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation, the motion by our Chairman of the Personnel Committee to accept these 2 employees and move them into permanent status. Second by Roland Curall, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Monty. Any old business? Any old business? Any new business? Okay, attorney not here, no need for executive session. Any motion by Matt? Second by Mr. Ronald, that we adjourn, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you.